This week in the Dork Side Pokemon League, a battle for Texas in San Antonio. Minnesota's offensive assault heads for the Rocky Mountains, and Arizona looks to even their record in Long Island in a battle against the Duckletts. We break down those games and more in Week 2 of the DSPL. Next. Hello. I am Grumm, your commissioner and host of the Dork Side Pokemon League, welcoming in you for a Week 2 preview right here on DSPL Weekly. We got 6 games. Very excited about all 6 of them. But before we do that, let's look at how I did as far as predictions went last week, as well as the Grummunity. As you can see, I did not do as good as the community in predicting the slate of games for Week 1, going 2-4, while the community went 3-2-1 because they could not decide who would win between the Birmingham Bouffalin's and the Corpus Christi Crobats. But there you go. I did, however, exactly predict the Long Island Duckletts and Colorado exactly correct at 3-0 in favor of Long Island. So I will rest my hat on that, but I will look to, at the very least, get back to even this week. Now let's take a look at the games for Week 2. Setting the tone this week, we've got an in-state rivalry as the Crobats of Corpus Christi, Texas takes the 2-hour drive north to San Antonio, Texas to take on the San Antonio Spheal. Corpus Christi will look towards Garchomp, Alolan Raichu, and Gallade to challenge the strong combination of San Antonio's weather-loving Walking Wake and Volcanion. Corpus Christi will hope to take advantage of the weather San Antonio brings to battle with either solar-powered Charizard in the sun or Swift Swim Golduck in the rain, as well as potentially 100% accurate thunders from Alolan Raichu. It will take some pre-match predicting of whether San Antonio will lean into the rain or the sun to decide the rest of the Crobats team this week, because the rain would benefit either Sereno or Rillaboom. That bit of mystery does give San Antonio a competitive advantage as they can fill the team around both Wake and Volcanion, leaning into either weather. And with the Crobats having at least one Pokemon on their side who can take advantage of both weathers, I think Sawsbucks makes a case this week with either Chlorophyll or Sap Sipper to take advantage of the sun, or hard countering the Crobats' grass types in the rain. Preseason acquisition of Volcarona also provides a bit of flexibility with either Torkoal or Pelipper due to its flame body ability and bulk, helping to deal with key physical attackers on Corpus Christi. That said, I think the key Pokemon for San Antonio this week over any other one is Volcanion. It can take advantage of either weather, but I really do think that for the victory in general for this field is to bring the rain. And if Volcanion can hard counter water types with Water Absorb, it can also threaten outside of the rain. It can threaten the grass types that the Crobat could potentially bring. But on the Crobat side, I think they don't need to lean one way or the other. And do you bring one Pokemon for the sun? Do you bring your Pokemon that'll best fit for the rain? I actually think that they should just lean into something similar to what Arizona did last week, which is lean into your electric type. They got Alolan Raichu, who's very strong special attacks. Again, the only Pokemon on the side of San Antonio that can resist electric are Sawsbuck and Roaring Moon, and I don't think Roaring Moon comes if you bring the rain. But on top of that, Roaring Moon's the only Pokemon on that side that can resist this either, electric or psychic from Raichu, and I think that will be pretty good. I think Corpus Christi travels well. They play hard. Well, they're going to fall short to Burger's squad and the San Antonio Spheal because I think San Antonio wins 2-0. Our next matchup features 2 pals, 2 friends, 2 buddies, 2 compadres, and their 2 teams who go to war as Didact and the Pig's Eye Pignite host the Birmingham Bouffalints, I got it right this time, and their general manager, Squidge. The Pignite, led by their ghoulish grouping of Ghost, Annihilate, Gengar, and Hisuian Typhlosion, are up for the challenge, as Birmingham and Ursaluna, Chi-Yu, and their own Ghost-type Poltergeist look for early season success. Birmingham offers an interesting challenge for the Pignite, as the combo of Chi-Yu and Ursaluna wall the Ghost typing. Throw in Ursaring and Zoroark, you've got 4 Pokemon who provide a real issue for the Pignite. From an offensive standpoint, Poltergeist could threaten Pig's Eye, but the big threats really are Zoroark and Chi-Yu, whose strong dark pulses see little resistance and major damage. For the Pignite to not fall to 0-2, they're going to have to rely heavily on Annihilate, and that means bringing as much support as it can, meaning either Dracloak or Sableye have to perform, and perhaps Gengar is more support than damage this week. I think preseason edition of Hoopa Unbound, who does break up the Ghost Monotype a little bit, will see good usage this week as well, especially after getting a knockout last week. For the Pignite, it's plain and simple. Can Annihilate come in cleanly and do some damage? It does super effective damage to 7 of the 11 Pokemon on Birmingham, and Didact will be wise to position Annihilate as best as he can. The Bouffalints on the other side, though, they need to find the fastest and quickest way to get through those supports to Annihilate and put the pressure on Pig's Eye. And I think Zoroark is actually the key mon for them this week. Aside from just being a fast, strong hitter, that illusion ability pairs well with Poltergeist. Because Poltergeist, you're not going to go for a fighting type move, but you are going to go for a ghost type move that, is not effective on Zoroark's dark type. So you got to think about that. But early in the season, this matchup provides an opportunity for both teams to get their season going in a direction that they would like it to go. But I think that Birmingham is the one that does it. I think Birmingham beats the Pig's Eye Pignite 1-0. It's a good thing that this next matchup is not a real travel, because it features one of the furthest travels we got is the Aussie Illusion packing the heavy Trick Room hitters of Iron Hand, Green Gambit, and Goldengo travel to Cambridge to take on Dragapult, Great Tusk, Skeledirge, and the rest of the Clodsires from Cambridge. Following a commanding 4-0 victory last week, Cambridge tackles the Trick Room troubles with a 2-prong attack of preventing and then trying to take advantage of any flipped turn order, as Polt, Tusk, and Mousehold will try to prevent the Trick Room by either force or taunt, which leaves the like of Skeledirge, Clodsire, and Rabsca to attempt to slow the illusion out. Aussie's got a tough matchup this week, but not impossible, because they win some key type matchups by having multiple fairy types like Hatterene, Diancie, and Terra Captain Caparaja to handle Dragapult, Great Tusk, and Iron Hands. And in the back, of course, they've got King Gambit to clean up late games, or completely reverse sweep like they did last week, turning a 5-0 loss to a 1-0 win. I think this week will be a little bit more challenging going into it for the Illusion than last week, because they're looking at a much more well-rounded team than last week. We're going to have to rely more on we than me this week, and I think the Pokemon that helps them do that is Farigiraf, whose ability is a Trick Room setter who has Wish, who can pass off that Wish to Pokemon who will then take advantage of Trick Room. It's be really important because there are threats aplenty on Cambridge, including, but not limited to, their key Pokemon this week being Great Tusk, who's an incredible bulky Pokemon who's also strong, and in this matchup, Tusk's ability either be a bulk up wall or run an Assault Vest set to tank some special hits will give Duff Guy Pat the flexibility and team building before the even match to answer the Trick Room trouble. I have Cambridge coming out of this one 2-0 over the Aussie Illusion. Our second half of week 2 features an alliterative assault as the Boston Bronzors host the British Bangers. Hoping to bounce back, Boston's bulky bunch stands boldly as Tyranitar, Corviknight, and Rotom Wash battle the Bangers' brave band of Bad Apples in Meowscarada, Toxapex, and Screamtail. Enough with the Bs, because this matchup is an A-tier showdown of 2 feisty teams. Boston's core of Tyranitar, Corviknight, and Rotom Wash bring along strong supports in Grimmsnarl, Galarian Slowking, and Cantonian Articuno, who round out with the flexible Hisuian Arcanine, who is able to be of both supporting mon and featured in this matchup, as it matches up well against 8 of British's 13 rostered Pokemon. Orange's team on the other side features multiple Pokemon that Durz's team must have answers for in Toxapex and Garganacl. Outside of Meowscarada though, British's team has to find answers themselves to break through Boston's defenses, looking to rely on Flareon, Tinkaton, and his own Cantonian Arcanine to help in that aspect of this matchup. And to be honest, this matchup does not bode well for Arn and the British Bangers. Coming off a week where they were unable to do much against Cambridge, they're going to need to find some answers to handle the bulk that Boston offers. If the Bangers want to walk away with a win, their first one of the season, they're going to need to rely on Toxapex to do what Toxapex does best: stall. Toxapex is able to spread out Toxic, lay down some Toxic spikes, regenerate leftovers, take strong physical hits, all that. And he's going to need to, because save for Corviknight and Galarian Slowking, no one on that team stops Toxapex from doing those things. Stall may not make for an exciting playstyle, but hey, look, you got to win. Whatever it takes to win, right? Whatever it takes. Ends that justify the means when you are looking to avoid going 0-2. For Boston, though, they're in a similar position as British is. They're looking to avoid going 0-2. They have one slight advantage that British doesn't have, and that's Hisuian Arcanine. In particular, Rockhead Choice Band Hisuian Arcanine does an insane amount of damage this week. Recoilless head smashes with Rockhead as well. Dude, Flare Blitz, everything. They'll do heavy damage, and there won't be any like worries about like recoil damage. I mean, it does all that to everyone but Garganacl. Like, that's the thing, is like it matches up very well this week. And Quagsire, I guess, too, would resist this, but outside of those, but I mean, even if you want to do that, run choice band close combat, and then you're looking at super effective and neutral damage. Look, it's just a matter of Durz keeping his Fire Dog alive. But we might be looking at a team comp matchup between the two where we don't see a second Pokemon knocked out until turn 60. Last week's games for both of these teams either are going to be a trend that they set, or it'll be just a blip. And I think for British Bangers, the latter is the case, and that was just a blip for them. I think they come into Boston and they win 2-0. Following a statement win in week 1, Minnesota makes the trip to the Rocky Mountains to take on the Dugtrios of Colorado. Basque's Minnesota team is full of offensive threats like Greninja, Lycanroc, Dusk, and Jolteon, who look to rock the mountainous Dugtrios led by Scizor, Cantonian Zapdos, and Tornadus Therian. Colorado's team matches up pretty strongly against the Doduos, as their defensive Pokemon like Zapdos, Blissey, and Galarian Slowbro can take hits and force Minnesota to adjust, never staying ahead for too long. Add in either Cantonio Dugtrio to prevent a switch out with Arena Trap, or the Alolan form to slow down the physical hitters of Minnesota with its Tangled Hair ability, and Colorado opens up avenues for Scizor, Lucario, and Blaze Tauros to impose their will. Minnesota will keep that in mind, as they will need its hitters to hit hard and often, but also be able to get in and out easily. That's why Noivern, being a flying type and immune to Arena Trap, is important to bring this week. As will Basculegion, who has a favorable matchup against 7 of Colorado's team. Rounding out the team with either Cinderace to deal with the steel types on Colorado, Weavile to outspeed the Dugtrios and Tornadus with some effective moves, or Leafeon to provide some defensive pivoting would be wise for Minnesota. A fun matchup with this one because there are several Pokemon that could be potential key mons for both sides. The key for Colorado this week is just being able to stave off Minnesota's assault, take some big hits, eat them, and keep ticking and hit back hard, and either an Assault Vest to bulk up its special defense, Leftovers to add in recovery, or Rocky Helmet to punish the physical attackers. Glowbro's value this week to Colorado is immense, and it's a must bring. For Minnesota, the key for them is actually Noivern, because between Flying and Dragon, those are two typing good against Colorado this week. Only Alolan Dugtrio resists both of those moves. Add in it being extremely fast, I think it's faster than everything as well, and the ability to have Flamethrower for coverage for the steel types. I think Basque would be wise to bring Noivern. I think this one's a hard one to call, though. It's hard, really, because making predictions involving the Minnesota team at this point, I'm calling it now in week 2. Look, Minnesota's front office, a source told me, damage, move, go, Burr. And I think that'll play into Minnesota's favor this week. I think they do win 2-0. And in our premium primetime game, our showdown of the week, Arizona returns for it to take on the Long Island Duckletts. Following a strong week 1, Iron Valiant, Slacking, and Dragonite lead the Duckletts against the visiting core of the Diamondbacks in Iron Bundle, Sneasler, and Delphox. Long Island looks to send a message to the rest of the league, taking down Arizona in this matchup, and their hard hitters in Valiant, Slacking, and Dragonite will certainly do their part. The question comes in the form of who else will help them defend home turf in Long Island, as they have some questions. Hisuian Samurott doesn't match up too well, or at least not as well as it did last week, and Landorus Teed has a horrible matchup against Bundle, but does offer an answer for Kilowattrel. Perhaps the answer this week comes in the form of Hisuian Electrode, who can outspeed Bundle while being a menace to the rest of the Diamondbacks. Maybe even bringing in Ditto on an Iron Bundle will swing things in Long Island's favor. Arizona will find themselves running up against some serious hitters, and for that reason I think both Ting-Lu and Gyarados bring great value this week, as bulky answers who can deal with Valiant special attacks and intimidates Long Island's physical attackers, respectively. As does Alolan Decidueye now that I think about it, whose Ghost typing offers a way to deal with Valiant's fighting types and handles Slacking's strong Giga impacts. Offensively, Iron Bundle and Sneasler will have to do the brunt of the work, but I wouldn't be surprised if Delphox comes in with either Specs or Scarfs and tears into a Fairy type to threaten the Duckletts. Our premium matchup this week leads us to some fun questions of whether Long Island has a claim to the throne at the top of the league, with Alolan Decidueye being the only Pokemon on the Diamondbacks who can resist a stab Giga Impact. Choice Band is the answer, and it's just going to put the fear of Arceus into every Pokemon in Arizona, especially as the Duckletts get some hazards up. Because of Slacking, I feel like Decidueye is a good call to make here, but I'm not going to say it's the key Pokemon. I do think that the key Pokemon is actually Gyarados. Between its bulk, Intimidate, and a good move pool to give issues for the rest of the team, I think Gyarados will be a very important Pokemon should Arizona walk away with a win. One of these teams will go into week 3 on a statement win, sitting high on the perch of the league. And I think that team's going to be Arizona Diamondbacks. I just think that the experience AW has will give him the ability to find an answer to deal with Slacking and the rest of the threats on Long Island. It's not just Slacking. He's also got Iron Valiant. He's got Lando T, Dragonite, a smorgasbord of threats. But the threats are just powerful enough that Long Island is going to make this one difficult and close. But I do think it's Arizona winning 1-0. That will do it for the preview of Week 2 in the Dork Side Pokemon League. I am Grumm. Thank you guys for hanging out. Comment below who you think will secure the dub this week. Leave a like and subscribe for more DSPL content, including the live broadcast every Sunday, including this Sunday, September 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be watching the games along. And when I say we, I mean myself, you, the community, the general managers, everybody included. Until next time, I am Grumm. Thank you for joining me for this Week 2 preview edition of DSPL Weekly here on Grumm TV. I will see you next week.
Grumm TV thanks you for watching this presentation of the Dork Side Pokemon League.